How is everybody doing today? We are going to be looking at all Honkai Star Rail characters and looking at what traces deserve that max level, the 10 level when it comes to leveling it up from 1 to 10. And for the most part, we are going to be looking at this in a different way because yes, if I were to look at every DPS unit, right, and we were able to look what traces are the most important, we would look at their skill, their ultimate, their talent for the most part because of course that's how they work. But I don't want to just go ahead and say, oh, level up 3 out of 4 traces and say that for almost every character, because then what would be the point for this video? But for this video, we are going to be looking at specific traces that give the most bang for your buck for the reasons that you're going to be doing. And even though some of these do have minor scalings when it comes to giving you maybe 0.3 more, 0.5 more, or maybe 1% more, the stuff you're going to be getting from these traces, regardless at the end of what you would calculate your damage at, is going to be the 100% most valuable thing for your character. And the same thing goes for supports. A lot of these supports have really great traces that you really want to get to 10 because they're doing their job and giving you the most damage, the most stats, a lot of valuable resources for your team that you want to have these at 10. So we're going to be looking at every single character in Honkai Star Rail and going ahead and showing what their most valuable traces to get to 10, so that if you have been feeling like you're hoarding resources or you just want something to work towards, well, this video is going to be there to help you. Starting off with the first character, and also sorry if I keep looking to the side, I have some notes because I did go through all of them to be able to have a quick way to go ahead and show off each trace. But for Kafka, we're going to be looking at her skill to be able to have the most amount of value to be able to get to 10, just because this is going to directly impact how much of the re-trigger your dots are going to get when you end up using your skill. Yes, her ultimate is very strong, but when you use your ultimate, you're only proccing the lightning dot from this talent or getting it to 10. I know mine is 10. I made a mistake, my bad. And then for the trace right here, it actually replicates the whole dot source when it comes to the damage you're getting from your ultimate. So it's nothing, it scales off from the ultimate. So the most important one that you are going to be looking at for Kafka is going to be your skill, because this is going to be what is re-triggered, and getting it all the way up to 10 is what's going to give you the highest re-trigger of those dots, which is Kafka's whole stick. Everything else isn't as important when it comes to it, such as her talent, although like I said, there are going to be traces for other characters. Let's say for a DPS like maybe Seele, of course you would want to level up her skill, of course you would want to level up her ultimate because she's a DPS, that's what you do. But we're looking at the most valuable thing in their kit to get to 10, because as we may know, a lot of people stop at 888 for a lot of their traces. So we're going to be just looking at the ones you should really push towards that 10 to be able to get the most out of what that character is. And I will be saying it for every character because you have no idea who mains these characters. There might be a Yanqing main out there somewhere, so we are going to be covering every single character. For the next character, which is going to be Black Swan, we are going to be looking at 2 traces this time, which are going to be the ultimate and also the skill. The reason why we're looking at these 2 is because the ultimate is actually going to give enemies take increased damage, and you are going to be able to increase this all the way up to 10. And then same thing with the skill, you also are going to be able to reduce their defense by a certain amount of percentage based on how high you have their skill as well. And see how great she is as a debuffer, not only for the dot team specifically, but also for many other teams like for Dr.Ratio or for any other DPS that in the future will love debuffs. Black Swan's going to be a really great character, and being able to amplify damage from the ultimate, being able to amplify the damage from the skill with the defense reduce, you're going to get a lot out of it. And this is definitely a trace you want to level up to 1010. A lot of these things I will 100% do myself, because right now I'm just grinding a lot of stuff for Acheron. So make sure to let me know in the comments below what traces you have 10 or what was your first ever level 10 trace, and what are you doing right now with your Trailblazer power, because I want to see what everyone's grinding, unless it's for Sparkle and you're doing that and then Acheron. But let me know what you're doing in the comments below, and make sure also to leave a like and a sub as well if you're enjoying this style of video. I am going to be posting more content, of course, with Sparkle coming out very soon, showcases, all that type of stuff, more discussion, all of that in the future. But going on with Ruan Mei, the next one is going to be, which is a special case for her specifically, is going to be everything except her basic, because everything that she has in her traces have really great benefits to the team, with her talent giving speed, which is a valuable resource 100% for a majority of the cast. And then we also have her skill, which I have at 10 right now, which is going to give damage increase by 32%, which is a pretty big boost for 3 freaking turns. She is just such a strong unit that all her traces deserve to be 10. And I know this is very expensive when it comes to not only the credits that it costs, but also grinding out the traces, using the balls, using the boss mats. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but with how much she provides, she is 100% a character you would love to 10 her. just because of how strong she is. She is just such a great unit and a very, very strong unit. For the next one, it is going to be Huo Huo, and I do have this one already at 10 just because this is her most valuable trait. And again, like I said, yes, she uses her talent and her skill to heal. That is not what we're looking at today, because we will say every single thing is 10 valuable level, and that's just not the case. You gotta get the most bang for your buck, and when it comes to that, is usually the things that support the most or give the most benefit from having at least it being level 10. And of course, all units don't have to be level 10. You can really spread them out in what you would want to do. You don't have to take all these suggestions. These are just if you want to work towards something or just get the most out of your favorite characters. And for something like Huo Huo, of course, her skill and her talent are going to give her the healing that she wants, but her ultimate is what you're using Huo Huo for, which is going to be giving you the energy and also the massive attack boost for all your allies. So this is definitely something you do want to level 10 just so you can get the maximum amount of energy that you are going to be getting from her ultimate, which is going to be the majority of why you're using her in the first place, and also the massive attack buff you're going to be getting for 2 turns as well. So that makes her absolutely amazing. Now the next one is actually going to be funny, because for me, and it's funny enough that I have his basic at 6. I have no idea why. I think I was trying to work on crit Luocha, but for Luocha, actually none of his traces are 10 worthy in all honesty, because for the most part, majority of these just go around healing, and then the ultimate is only for attack, which of course isn't his strong suit. So there isn't anything in specific that really needs to be 10, because with 998, which I think is still overkill, I have my Luocha healing for 6k, almost 8k sometimes, and for the field, when someone attacks, they're getting healed for almost 2k, and maybe 2 attacks or 1 follow-up attack is enough to get everyone to full health. So you definitely don't need to get him to level 10. I think Luocha's still a very great character, but for the amount of trace investment that he really needs to be able to be running and do what he needs to do, he really doesn't need a level 10, just because his traces just solely work on healing and damage, which he already has enough of. For the next one, which is going to be Xuan, it is going to be the skill and also possibly the talent, because it's a small contingency. The skill 100%, because you are going to be increasing everyone's max HP by a certain amount, and you're also going to be giving everyone crit value, which is going to be around, what is it going to be, maybe 12%, 11 point something percent. It's going to be around that range, and that's still a really good thing to have for a lot of characters, which can make and break a lot of passes like Rudolin Arena, like Inner South Soto, if you're somehow struggling that much with crit rate. Having the amount of crit rates you're going to get from having level 10 and also getting the max HP boost is going to help out the survivability and also the offensive capability for a lot of your characters. And for the traits itself, I think Xuan at 888 honestly does the best thing in the world. I didn't level up her ultimate, because why do I need damage on Xuan's ultimate? But for the most part, for her talent, you don't need 8, and all honesty, or you don't need 10 for the trace of her talent, just because I think at level 8 she honestly does really, really well tanking for the team. Now if you just want to add a big section of tank and also get more back from when you do your trace or your talent whenever she re-heals herself, that is okay. You can level this up to 10. I do think for the most part, unless you really, really need that tankiness from Xuan, only her skill really needs it, which is going to be giving that crit value for the whole team and also the max HP for the team as well. So I would just say for the skill on Xuan, possibly the talent. And then for Silverwolf, we are going to be looking at the ultimate, just because yes, this is a massive defense drop that you are going to be raising when it comes to her ultimate. So this is one thing you for sure want to get to 10. And then for her skill, it is another maybe if you wanted to. I do think the boost and how much you're going to be getting the all res penetration is very little, and it's also not really the craziest thing in the world compared to her defense drop, which is absolutely monumental. When it comes to getting into level 10, her skill can be something you get to 10. I just think the ultimate takes more value or takes more priority when it comes to investing into Silverwolf, so you can get both her ultimate and her skill to level 10. But in all honesty, I would just go for the ultimate. And then this is really great as well, but when you look at how little each thing is, when it comes to reducing attack, it's a 0.7, reducing defense, it's a 0.5. You're gonna really see how having this right here, the ultimate, be buffed out all the way to 10 is just gonna give you so much more defense drop, a lot more value for all your units doing DPS. Realistically, all of these are good, kind of like the way how Ruan Mei works, where she has a lot of things going for her. But for this case specifically, I do think that it's just a really good thing to have just the ultimate up all the way to 10, and then you can level these up to 8. It's really not that much of a big deal to have it at 8 versus 10 when it comes to the other two. So I would just prioritize the ultimate for sure. The next one is going to be Argenti, and I would say it would be his talent, just because his talent is going to give him the most amount of crit rate, which allows you to build less into crit rate and more into crit damage, allowing you to do a lot more damage in the long run, because he will be getting this in his best situation very quickly, which is a full field of enemies, and he's going to be able to stack this up to 25% if I'm not wrong. So you will be getting a full 25% crit rate if you level this up to 10, which is 100% added value, 1000%. So 100% his talent would be the very best, and then his skill, his ultimate, all that type of stuff can stay at 8, or if you want the max amount of damage, of course, like I said before, go ahead and level those up as well. I'm just talking about the most resource and the most investment, the most bang for your buck benefit when it comes to leveling these up to level 10. The next character for Dr.Ratio, honestly, for the most part, this is going to be none, just because his key is very centric on his attack, and that's pretty much it. There's no boost when it comes to the amount of damage you get, or maybe even something that buffs up other characters. So for the most part, for Ratio, all of his can stay at 8. He does some massive damage when it comes to what he's able to do with just 888. I've gotten mine to hit for 120k, 100k with this amount of investment in the traces. If you really like Ratio, go ahead and level him up to 10, 10, 10 if you really want to. But for the most part, all of his stuff is very static, very linear when it comes to just being scaled off the attack, and that's it. Nothing when it comes to boosting his own damage for a certain amount or defense dropping any characters. So for Ratio, none in all honesty for when it comes to the most use of having a level 10 trace. For Seele, her best trace to get level 10 will be for sure her talent, which is Resurgence, which is her whole kit for the most part, giving her the turns that she needs to be able to do a lot more clears when it comes to taking out these mobs. Hopefully with the release of Sparkle, she'll get some more play. Then we'll be able to see her be used a little bit more. Again, as I said before a million times, I would say the skill and the ultimate, because yes, they're DPS, yes, they need to do their damage, but when you look at Sele's Resurgence, which is her whole kit, you would really want this to be level 10 over anything else, because it does give her a nasty amount of damage percentage when she's in this state, which is the whole basic of her kit. This is the whole foundation of her kit. So this is something you would really want at level 10, 100%. And then for Dan Heng, we actually have both the talent and the skill, because the skill is going to be giving you crit damage and is going to be stacked. So the more you have this at level 10, or the higher it is going to be able to stack a little bit more with each stack that goes onto his skill, which of course goes up to 3. So you will be getting a nice amount of crit damage if you level this up to level 10. Give him the most damage he will be getting at the end of what your damage would be. And then also for his talent, this is just overall, it needs to be 10, because you are going to be getting a damage percentage boost that can stack up to 6 times, which is going to be absolutely massive when you level this up to level 10, because having the damage be applied as a boost is going to make the final result you get super duper high, and this is something you want to level up to 10. So both the talent and the skill are going to be very great for Dan Heng, and that's going to help him the most. His ultimate, in all honesty, it is the best level all the way to 10. Does it help him a lot when it comes to his skill point generation and the extra damage you're going to be doing? 100%. But is it as valuable as his skill and his also talent? No. In my honest opinion, no. For Jingliu, I have her at 10, 10, 10, because holy crap, do I use her a lot, and I really, really love this character. But for the most part, the only thing you really need to level up on her is the talent, because you want to have this 50% crit rate, because that is a massive amount of value to have for crit value. And then you also are going to be getting the damage boost as well. For the skill and also the ultimate, again, yes, I know you're going to be doing damage with these, and these are the core parts of her kit. But when it comes to her talent, this is the thing you would want to 10 for that 50% crit rate. And you're going to be able to take this out. You're going to be able to use the, what's it called? The rate you would have been building on her to put into crit damage, and then you can get some nasty stuff like how we see with her relics, where you have like 47, 238, where you're getting some nasty value. So 100%, you really want to make sure to level up that talent so you're able to make use of not having to build so much crit rate and going into crit damage, hoping you get a lot of these extra effects, especially with something like Ruan Mei. 1000% something you want to do. Now for Blade, sadly for my boy, and you all know I love my man Blade, I would love to get him to 10, 10, 10. I even got his basic attack to skill, the max, I guess you could say. And this is definitely something that is hard for me to say, because for the most part, a lot of his kit doesn't really need to be 10, but if I did have to give him one, because I do think it's worthwhile mentioning, it would be his skill, because you are going to be getting a full-on damage boost for your basic attacks, and it's going to be able to scale a little bit higher when it comes to having this to 10. So this would 100% be something you would get to level 10. I don't think it's crazy necessary to get to 10 like every other character that we mentioned before, but for the most part for Blade, I would say his skill And then, of course, as I said a million times, the DPS, I know they need those other traces, but we're asking for the most value to all of their kits. And now we're looking at Lynx. For Lynx, this is a none, because for the most part, same thing with, who was it? It was somebody, Luocha. For Luocha, a lot of it's just healing. There is no extra crazy buffs you get from this. There is no added value that comes from getting these all the way up to 10. So AAA is 100% fine for Lynx. For Xueyi, we are going to be looking at her skill, because this is going to be a full-on damage boost based on how many tiles she is going to be throwing up. And of course, with her having her tiles and wanting to get the max stacks, this is going to give you a massive damage boost that you're going to get at the end of finally getting your hit off. And that's going to be the most value when it comes to all that is in her kit. Of course, her basic attack is very important because that is all her damage. But when it comes to the final value of how much damage you're going to be doing, the skill is 100% something you want to get to level 10. For Herta, it is going to be none. There isn't anything crazy when it comes to her traces besides the higher scaling that you will be getting for the damage. So Herta sadly doesn't have anything that I would say would be level 10 worthy. For Welt, this was also a hard one, similar to Blade. I do have it with the ultimate, just because you are going to be able to imprison enemies and have their action delayed by a set amount, which would be 40% if I'm not wrong. So this is a massive imprisonment delay, which is a really good thing for Welt, which plays into his whole thing. And for the most part, that is a really nice thing to have. I just don't think the one extra percentage would make or break a certain condition to happen. So I put a maybe next to his ultimate. It doesn't really have to be there. I think the 9 or 8 even is going to be really good for him. For our favorite support in the world, which is Bronya, 1000% her skill and her ultimate. The skill, so you get the max amount of damage buff, which of course is the main thing you're using her for. And then also her ultimate to provide the most amount of attack buff and also the most amount of crit damage you can squeeze out of Bronya for the ultimate. This is by far something that should take high priority if you have Bronya on your account or list. For Jing Yuan, funny enough, I thought he was going to have something that would work in his favor to be a 10 level worthy trace, but for the same reason that a lot of these healers, for a lot of these characters that don't have a lot of extra oomph to their kit, he has a lot of scaling traces that don't really give him a lot extra besides higher scaling on his own scaling, which is attack. And for the most part, I don't see anything here right now that gives any precedent to being at level 10 besides, of course, his fundamental kit of being a DPS. So for right now, Jing Yuan has a none for his level 10 traces. For Himeko, she follows suit. Nothing else besides extra scaling for most of her moves. So for right now, she also doesn't have a 10 besides, of course, the normal AAA or just leveling up whatever you want as your favorite character. For Yanqing, he actually does have a lot of different things to work around, which is going to be his talent and also his ultimate. His talent is going to be important because it will be giving you crit rate and crit damage, which is going to help you be able to invest a little bit less into those and more into more stats like crit damage or maybe just full on attack or effect hit rate. That way you're able to land the freeze. And then also you have a chance of hitting a follow-up, which gets a higher chance when it comes to leveling it up all the way up to 10. So this is a lot of stuff that comes with this talent. And then for his ultimate, he actually gets 60% static and actually 45% extra crit damage at level 8, even more so at level 10. So his talent and his ultimate 100% will be something you really want to look forward to when leveling up his traces. Everything else is just regular scaling for his kit. Now, when it comes to Topaz as well, she actually has 2 as well in her traces. She has her skill, which is going to be giving a full-on 43% extra damage to follow-up attacks. And then her ultimate is going to be giving her a higher damage multiplier and also a crit damage bonus, which is going to be very important as well. So both for her skill and her ultimate are something you want to go ahead and look forward to because everything else is just regular scaling. For Guinaifen, you're mainly going to be looking at the talent because her talent is going to be the main base of her kit, the foundation of her kit, the reason why a lot of people use her, which is the higher damage dealt when it comes to having Fire Kiss. And the more stacks you're able to get of Fire Kiss and having that scaling be even higher, adds up a lot more during the time you're using her. So this is a really good trace to level up for Guinaifen. So the talent is 100% something you should be looking forward to invest. When it comes to Hanya, she also has 2 that she would love to have leveled up to 10, which is going to be the talent and also the ultimate. The talent giving a 30% damage buff, which is pretty massive for a 4-star buff, which is a really good thing for Hanya. And then also her ultimate giving 20% speed and a 60% attack buff, which is overall really nice to have again on a 4-star. So these 2 are going to be really great for Hanya. The skill just does damage, so you're not going to be really using that. And then now for Sushang, Sushang is going to use the talent because it will increase her base speed as a character's weakness broken, which can be very easily done with Ruan Mei. I've had multiple videos using her with her talent, and having her speed as crazy as it is and boosting it even further with other characters like Ruan Mei, like Asta, she can be done and she can be used a crazy amount of times a turn. So having this leveled up is going to make that even more absurd. So 100% talent is a really good one. And the same thing for the ultimate. Not only are you going to able to do more damage with her ultimate, you're also going to be increasing her attack as well for future attacks. So this is something that is going to help her out in the long run as well, having that level 10 for both the talent and the ultimate. And then going on to Misha. Misha's brand new. Not a lot of people are building Misha, but if you are using Misha and thinking about having him at level 10 because you just like him that much, his ultimate and his talent his ultimate is going to be 100% something you get at level 10, just because you are going to have a higher chance to get that base freeze off, and he will be getting additional ice damage and also the extra damage that comes from his ultimate. There really isn't anything crazy besides the extra freeze chance and just the extra damage you get for ice when it comes to his ultimate. And then for his talent, the reason I say maybe is because you do get a good amount of boost when it comes to the energy he gets per skill point, and this is a pretty big thing for his kit because, as you may know, he needs the skill points to be able to do the max stacks for his ultimate, which does a lot of damage, and being able to get that energy to get that ultimate up quicker, because sometimes you have the max stacks before your ultimate. This can be a really good thing to have and plays around his kit. Very, very important. So you really want to get the level 10 trace for his talent and his ultimate. And then the next thing is going to be Xueyi. And sadly, because a lot of her better traces are in the major traces, which are static, you really don't need to level up anything in her kit if you're just going to be looking at what gives the most damage for your, or bang for your buck for resources. A lot of this is scaling, and I was considering the ultimate, but for the fact that it's based on the toughness that is broken, which of course the highest being with Ruan Mei and with Xueyi, I really don't think this is worth enough to be able to level 10. Of course, if you really like Xueyi, then you would 100% get these all leveled up to do the max amount of damage you can with her, because she's just a really cool unit. But when it comes to the resources that you're going to be using and the investment and the max benefit you'd get from leveling 10 a trace, I wouldn't put Xueyi's traces in that section. Now for Arlan, it is going to be just strictly his talent, which is going to be increasing Arlan's damage for every percent of HP below his max HP up to a max of 75% more damage. As we may know, that damage buff is something crazy, especially looking at it versus what you would have without that damage buff. And with that playing a part of Arlan's whole kit, is a very important talent to use for him. So 100% you would want to get this at level 10. Having this dude at 10, 10, 11 was the biggest mistake ever, in all honesty. For Bailu, her best is going to be her talent as well, which is going to be the revive, give you more HP, and also with the invigoration that you are going to be getting from multiple sources of her kit, you are going to be getting more health back when you get hit, which is a big portion of Bailu's kit. So her talent is going to be something you would really like. There really isn't many healers that I would say to get a level 10 trace on, just because them doing their job is honestly something that they do very well without a full-on level 10 trace. But for this to be a pseudo damage reduction type of talent, this is honestly worth it to get level 10, and also getting more HP back when you do revive is a really big thing for sure, because she's the only one that can take you back alive. Now the last thing for the physical trailblazer, or actually fire trailblazer, the only thing you would want level 10 is going to be his skill, just because it will be give you the damage reduction, which is absolutely massive when it comes to seeing how much damage he would have taken with or without it. Having this at level 10 is absolutely insane. He takes 0 damage, and the higher you get this, he takes even less. And when it comes to the physical trailblazer, he actually has, I think it's none. I have to check really quick, which I think it might be his talent for all I know. And it is going to be his talent, because his talent is going to be increasing his attack, which is going to in turn help his whole kit when the weakness broken and it can stack. As we may know, if it can stack and you can level up that trace to get it even higher, the more you get it to the scaling that it wants to be, the stacks are going to stack up and add on to make it even crazier or make it even more. So this is something you would want to level 10 100%. And before I forget, let me go ahead and get this preservation back on, because I'm not using physical MC. Now, when it comes to Gepard's traces, we are going to be looking at what is going to be level 10 worthy. And for the most part, I would say none, just because, you know, you're not going to be using his skill for the most part, because there's no scaling for his freeze, because that is static. The same thing for his talent. It would be cool to give him his revive back with more HP. I would say this is very nice, but for Gepard's sake, you do, for the most part, if I'm not wrong, are guaranteed the ultimate when you come back. Yeah, you do get your ultimate as soon as you come back, so it's not 100% needed in my honest opinion, especially in stuff where he's the most used, which is simulated universe. You get your health back before that even happens anyway, so I would 100% not really need a reason for him to come back with more than what he has. It's a really nice quality of life trace, but not 100% needed. And his shield is honestly way too tanky regardless when it comes to what he's able to provide at level 8. And really no enemies can really shred this off before you're able to reapply it when it comes to a well-invested Gepard. So I would say for Gepard right now, it would be a none for his traces. For Clara, it is going to be solely her ultimate just because it will help you with the damage reduction, keeping her alive, making it very easy for her to stay alive with the amount of hits she will be taking. And then you also will be getting a massive damage multiplier when it comes to countering an enemy and also the enemies adjacent to it. I know that's static, but the main damage multiplier is going to be increased by a crazy amount, so that's a really good thing to level up for sure if you're going to be using Clara, just because of the amount of time she will be getting hit. You do want to make sure that damage is reduced, and you also want to make sure that the damage that she does is going to be absolutely insane. For the next one, which is going to be March 7th, for right now, I do see none of these being 100% needed. Of course, wanting her skill to be a little bit higher for the shield is 100% worth it, but to get it to level 10, I don't see for the most part why you would need to do so. And same thing for her ultimate with her freeze. It is static as well, so you can't really level this up to be higher. So for the most part, her traces just don't have enough value to be able to level up to level 10. For Luka, what we're going to be looking at is going to be his ultimate, just because he is going to be giving you a higher damage received for the enemy for 3 turns, which is absolutely massive. And that's going to be a really big thing for the dot team. So adding that value and making it even higher, giving more damage numbers to the team, is going to be the main thing you want to level up for level 10 for Luka. For the next one being Sampo, of course, the ultimate as well, because the ultimate is going to be giving us extra dot taken for a certain amount whenever it is. I think it's what, 30%? 30% for 2 turns, which is a massive buff for the dot team if you're still using Sampo. So 100% the ultimate on Sampo is worth it to be level 10. For Pele, you are going to be using the ultimate to be at level 10 because it's going to be the highest amount that you can get for the enemy's defense to be reduced, which is going to be a massive 40% for 2 turns, which is absolutely insane. And it is possible to maybe say the talent as well, just because if you are using this with the tutorial light cone, that is going to give you a crazy amount of energy back when you go against debuffed enemies. You will be able to get your ultimate back very quickly, so that is something you can look forward to 100%. And honestly, I think this is a really good quality of life talent to be able to have, or the trace to be able to level up to level 10. So I would say this is a really good one to level up to level 10. But for the most part, the ultimate would be the #1 best trace to get to that point. And we're almost at the end with Yukong being her skill in ultimate. As you may know, not a lot of people use Yukong, and for the people that do, or what we saw at her from release, she had amazing scaling and some crazy stuff to look at when it comes to what she's able to give for the allies on the team. And it's going to be a 70% attack buff to all allies, and also for roaring bowstring you're going to be getting a massive crit rate buff and a massive crit damage boost. So 100% the skill and the ultimate will be 100% worth when it comes to leveling those up to level 10. Now when it comes to Ting Yun, we are going to be looking at both of her traces, which are going to be the skill and the ultimate. The skill, because we know for the attack percentage boost, which is absolutely massive, you want this to be at level 10. And the same thing goes for ultimate, because yes, the 50 energy is going to be static, but the amount you're going to get your damage boosted by, which is a crazy amount, is going to, of course, going to scale from the ultimate's passive. So you do want these to be level 10. You want these to be max for sure, because you want her to be doing her job at the best capability that she wants it to be at. So 100% get these to level 10. Those are the most massive for her. For Asta, we are going to be looking at the talent and also the ultimate. The talent, because you are going to be getting attack boost, and especially if you have Eidolons for her, she will be able to keep this out for a very long time, and this can stack up to 5 times, which is a really great thing for sure. And the same thing for the ultimate. That's the main gist of her kit, which is going to be the speed boost, which is a crazy amount to get for 2 turns, and you will be able to get this up to level 10. Same thing with the talent, so you will get her to her max potential when it comes to supporting her. Same thing with the Serval. Serval actually has none that I would say are the most needed when it comes to what she has. A lot of it's just regular attack scaling, nothing really crazy when it comes to her kit. And then the next thing for Dan Heng, actually he does have 2, which is very rare for a lot of the 4 stars we have right now on this list, which is going to be the talent, which is going to increase the win res penetration by 21% or a lot higher when you get this to level 10. And this is going to overall help the damage he does a lot more towards the end of when it gets calculated. So 100% you want to level this up to level 10. And then the same thing for his ultimate, because he does give a higher damage multiplier if the enemies are slow, and being able to get this massive amount of a damage multiplier to the ultimate from Dan Heng, that is going to hit super hard if you get that to level 10. For Hook, I would say there's going to be none, just because a lot of this is also attack scaling and not really a crazy amount of bang for your buck. And the same thing for Natasha, she just heals. All right. There's nothing with damage reduction, there's nothing with like some crazy damage redirection, anything like that. So yeah, Natasha will be another no trace 10 when it comes to her investment value. And that's pretty much it when it comes to all the level 10 traces you should be leveling up to 10 in Honkai Star for all these characters. Let me know if I have a trace that I missed that you really think need to be 10. Like I said, a lot of these traces that I didn't mention when it comes to the skills and the ultimates for a lot of the DPS, I know that the bulk of their damage comes from that, but we're looking at the highest value, the most I guess you could say added portion to their kit that's going to give them a lot more when it's leveled up to level 10. So that's the reason I skipped over a lot of traces that, yes, having their skill, having their ultimate, having their basic attack leveled to max would help them a crap ton when it comes to their damage. But when it comes to something like some of their talent, some of the passives for their skills, some of the passives for their basic attack, there's a lot of things that go into what I would think are the best possible investments for these characters, because you don't want to level 10 everything, because that is a very expensive thing to do when it comes to some of these characters. And trying to level 10 everything, you're gonna have a hard time leveling up other characters or trying to invest into newer characters, newer things, newer light cones if you're going to be spending your time leveling up every single thing to 10. So those should be a select few things that you should be leveling up to 10 when it comes to a few characters, a select few characters, or all your characters. You should only prioritize the ones that are super important, and I hope this is what this video was for you. So other than that, let me know what you think about this video in the comments below. So let me know if you're going to be using any of this information to level 10 your traces. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. See y'all in the next one, and peace.